Welcome to the LivXplore Podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sean Payne, owner and founder of LivXplore Real Estate and Lifestyle. And today I have with me again our founding agent, Isaiah Chass. Isaiah, thank you very much for joining us today.
You bet.
And this is a pretty cool podcast, long overdue. But we have a big announcement to make that our very own Isaiah Chass is the Press Democrats Sonoma County Real Estate Agent of 2023. You're the Realtor of the Year for the county. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was exciting to have. Obviously, real estate's a lot of up and down, so it's nice to have a little win every once in a while.
Yeah, you can see he's starting to get red. He's been avoiding this podcast. This is probably why we're a little rusty. We haven't done a podcast in a few weeks. We're going to recommit and get back out there. And I kind of feel like I put this on the books as like, hey, let's do a podcast about Isaiah being a Sonoma County Realtor of the Year. And things kind of went silent for a while. So he's getting pretty red over there, but it's well deserved, and it's quite an accomplishment. We're such a weird. We live in such a weird world. I'm not going to say your age, but you're a very young agent. And let's talk about your career. When did you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I started when I was 18. Everyone always asks me how I got into it. I don't have anyone in my family. One of my aunts on the East Coast. She's in real estate, but other than that, there's no one in my family that's directly in real estate. So I don't really know, looking back, how I really got into it. In high school, I started taking the classes to take the test, and everything in my life, once I decide I'm going to do it, there's no looking back, and that's how it was. Again, to this day, I don't really know what the catalyst was that got me into it. But at the time when I was 18, I interviewed the office manager at Compass at the time, and he introduced me to you, and then
that's right.
It kind of all fell into place from there.
Yep. So, at the time I was at Compass, and Jim Michelson called me in and said, hey, I have this kid, I think he said.
I laughed because I remember I was wearing a tie and
really
and slacks, and now I look back and was like,
right. Yeah, we're wine country casual.
Yeah.
So Jim told me about you, and we talked. I don't even remember the first interview, to tell you the truth, but it's been no looking back. I've been very fortunate for you to join us that way. So let's dive into your career. So you basically started when you're 18 years old, and you were still, I think you were going to the JC at the time, and then you went to Sonoma State after that. So you started before you even graduated, right?
Yeah. So I got my license when I was 18, but at the same time I had already enrolled at Sonoma State.
And you were taking 24
at the time.
26 units.
I was taking just a normal load. I think it was maybe 15 or 16, and it was for business administration and wine business. And I absolutely hated college. College is great for certain things, in my opinion.
Right.
If you're going to nursing school or you're going to be a doctor, you have to do it. For business, in my opinion, you learn all that on your own or in the field. So one day I finished class, and I called my dad and I said, hey, I think I'm going to drop out. And he said, no, you're going to finish what you started. So at that point, I think I was in my second semester. I think I was 19 at the time. I just wanted out. So I figured out a way to just finish as quick as I could. Mm-hmm. So I took a ton of units and graduated in 2 years instead of 4, and then I was able to continue doing real estate. But at the time, I remember I was in lecture halls, and I'd leave to go to showings and everything, and I still got good grades, but I don't know that really matters in the big picture.
That's great. Again, that gives a lot of insight to your personality that way. So kind of just on a whim, you got into real estate. Mm-hmm. Then we met, and then your career kind of just took off. Especially during COVID, I would say, tell me. I mean, it's definitely it's gradually increased that way. Yeah. There's been a constant increase that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, one of our first meetings where you said it was a snowball effect, and I mean, I believe everything you say, but at the same time, I was like, oh no, I figured I'd be able to jump in and have. Which I think a lot of people are in the same impression. Yes. And it was definitely slow for the first year. I was young. I looked young. I didn't know shit from shit, quite frankly. And my sphere of influence was young, so no one my age was buying.
Right.
So
we talked about that, or it was
Yeah, it was really hard. And then I would say open houses where it really started, where I could finally figure out how to talk and people would ask me a question I wouldn't know, and I'd go research it, and finally I'd start learning more. And then I would say during COVID, I started getting more referrals, and it's really just grown from there very organically. I've never made a single cold call, never door knocked. It's just very organic, and that's just my personality. I'm never going to be a salesman. I just want to provide good information.
You're more of an advisor that way, or a consultant. Yeah. Yep. Nope. Get it. So let's talk about so what are some of the areas that you've worked in your career? What are some of your niches that way?
Yeah. So I'm comfortable with pretty much all of the North Bay, Sonoma County, Marin County, Napa County. I end up going into Lake County, Mendocino inherently.
You spent quite a bit of time up in Lake County.
Yeah.
So you can service clients up there because you know those areas quite well. He does. We've gone up there. I pulled him up in for projects that way. He certainly knows the area.
Yeah.
So,
and
I'm sorry. Let's get back to, I'm totally going to go like a sideways here, but let's talk about like growing up, what you did, and that kind of aids to how you know totally. Some of the areas so well, right? So let's talk about that.
Exactly.
So,
and that's what I was going to tie into that is from age probably 7 until I was 18, right when I shifted into real estate, I grew up racing bicycles all around the world. So I trained pretty much any road in Sonoma County and Marin and Napa County. So that for me, especially when I first started out, was really how you
trained a lot of the rural roads, like the country roads, exactly. Things like that.
Yes.
So you have like intimate knowledge of those areas.
Totally.
Like you rode bikes like past properties very often that way. So it wasn't like you're zooming by in a car. I just want to get that right.
And it's all these roads and places that you would never pay attention to in a car on one note, and on a second note, you probably wouldn't even drive by them in general because there's no reason to drive those roads.
Right.
So that definitely helped me when I first started, and it still helps me because all those roads, again, they're not through roads.
No. Why I'm saying this is where we go? Rio Nito? Where were we up at?
Fort Ross.
Fort Ross, like those areas, West County. If you haven't been out there, they can be really confusing. You have these little small roads. The names are usually wrong, like what it says on the map and what the street sign says or whatever is different. People like playing with their address signs for various reasons. So it's very difficult. And Isaiah, I've taken him out there and he's navigated around when I've been totally lost. So so this is real. So.
Yeah. So that's definitely helped me serve a lot of different areas. I'd say the most part Sonoma County, but I'm totally comfortable with I'd say 3 or 4 counties that surround it. So
right. So you have intimate knowledge. You've spent quite a bit of time riding the back roads that way. So you really understand properties that way.
Yeah, and not just properties, but that was also something when I first started, and still I keep saying that, but just things that you wouldn't necessarily know about places that you can talk about, whether it's weather or how much traffic are on those roads. Just spending so much time out on these, backcountry roads, you get an understanding of so many different things.
Right. And so, and certainly you sell single family residences, but you have a really good understanding of country properties, of infrastructure of country properties. And I think that goes hand in, that's understanding the areas and then being able to understand the septic systems and be able to read a report and things of that nature and figure out what's going on there. Yeah. You have a good working knowledge of that. So
that's something that I personally enjoy more than anything else. Just
he loves septic system reports, guys. You heard him say it right there. So
I do. It's just the stuff like that: septic, well, easements, zoning. You have to know more about it, and for me, it's so much more interesting because if I don't know the answer, I can research it and I can accomplish that goal rather than with condos, which I still take care of clients with, but there's less you need to understand about it, and I think. For me, that's what makes it really interesting is being able to look at the big picture of so many different aspects and provide my client with that information.
Yep. No, that's one of the you can kind of do, approach real estate how you want. Some people like that repetitive nature that way where they have a good understanding. And there certainly is some benefit to that. There's certain niches to have. But yeah, it's nice to have projects that kind of like challenge you and you're constantly learning that way. And I think that's what you're saying that way. Cool. So yeah, again, like you're all over the place. A few days ago, you've been showing property up north. I know Sonoma County, but all the way up to Mendocino County. And I know you're on a 2x2, showing a 1,300 acre ranch. So you show all types of properties, right?
Yep. This was, I was all over Sonoma County, but also much of Mendocino County. It was Willits, Hopland, Ukiah on big ranches that you can't access the, kind of ant trails on the property unless you're on a side-by-side. So right. I love that stuff. There's so much more to it than just a typical single-family home.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about you. So when you're not like winning Sonoma County Realtor of the Year, you're not working, and he's has a very good work ethic. That this guy is a really hard worker. When you have your few moments of freedom, let's talk about what you're doing, because you're a fun dude.
Yeah, I'd say anything outdoors. If I don't try to do it, I am totally open for trying it. I love mountain biking, riding dirt bikes, surfing. My COVID hobby was getting into flying airplanes. That's my favorite thing to do now, and I'll continue doing that. But really, anything outdoors.
But flying is really important to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I'd say, no matter what's going wrong with real estate or whatever, if I'm having a bad day, I can go fly for an hour, in the evening, and you can't think about anything else. You have to focus on flying.
Right,
so you
right.
finish up, and then it's back to work. But at least for that hour, you don't have to think about anything else.
Yeah, and just like everything you do, I've heard accomplished pilots say that you're very good.
Thank you.
So you go full bore and everything that way. So that's very cool. Anything else that you want people to know about, hobbies, interests? All things Isaiah that way.
No, I would. If I don't know the answer to something, I'll do all the research to find it. But I really do pride myself, and I'd say sometimes I worry more than my clients worry about situations, because that's who I am. I really want my clients to be in the best possible situation financially, not just now, but in 5 years. That's a conversation I have with, especially in this market, with every buyer I have, is that, hey, I want you to be very certain that you want to live here for, 5, 7, 10 years, because if you don't love it and you want to sell in a year, you're probably going to be, underwater in it by the time you go through selling costs. And I don't have a crystal ball of the market, but
right. No, that's really important to know. I want to like emphasize that point, because you are very cautious, and we're in a market where people can be taken advantage of, and you're not dancing around on Instagram saying that interest rates don't matter.
Right.
Like you're giving really good information. And I he's coming here a couple times early in the office, like wide-eyed, like worried, like, what this doesn't feel right. I'm not sure if my clients really understand what they're getting into and things of that nature. And so, I know you definitely carry your ethics, and you're concerned about people, and you'll blow a deal up if you feel like someone's getting into a bad deal. You let them know, hey, how are you going to pay for this in a couple of years?
Right.
Like you're skimming by right now.
Right.
So no, I think that's important. I think that's really important that you're going to be here in the long run. You're not just here to sell, to make a commission now, but you're going to be here in the long run that way. So
definitely.
So I can't say enough about Isaiah. We're very fortunate to have him here at LivXplore. He does so much for us. That way, he also helps us in the property management division. Him and I we're co-owners of that way. So kind of jack of all trades, and you can hear from this interview just how determined he is that way. So you know what? I say we go 2-for-0 with next year as well. So
I agree.
I strongly encourage you guys that if you have real estate needs, to reach out to Isaiah that way. So Isaiah, as always, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If we're going to sign out now. So all right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Sean Payne, owner and founder of LivXplore. And Isaiah, thank you much for joining us today.
You bet. See you guys next time.
Welcome to the LivXplore Podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.